Now, looking 5 to 10 years ahead, what changes in culture, leadership, or care delivery do you think are necessary to really get the patient experience right? Are there big rocks that we still need to tackle, or are there kind of big issues, or is it different for every organization, or how would you think about it?
I do think it's going to be different for every organization for the sheer fact that we're all designed different ways. And so success will not look like better scores alone. It will look like better journeys. Care would be designed intentionally across departments and people rather than fragmented into episodes. Patients and families would be partners in improvement work more than just a advisory council. Leaders will evaluate success not only by clinical outcomes, but also by trust. And measuring trust in the system is understanding experience and interpreting data across the entire patient journey. From when the patients have their health alarm that they need something, that awareness experience, to their interaction experience, to how we nurture the experience as a system. And healthcare organizations will also understand something fundamental, is that experience is not separate from quality or marketing or financial, operational. It's part of it all. Because when healthcare consistently feels human, we know that we are moving in that right direction, because patients will have a better experience, staff will have a better experience, and the organization will gain economic value.
No, I think you put your finger on something really important early on in that comment, and that was all about trust. Because if there isn't trust, the patient doesn't show up for care, doesn't take the vaccine, doesn't stay on the medication, doesn't get the follow-up visit, doesn't get the diagnosis and at an early treatable stage. And so all of the clinical expertise in the world will go for naught if there's not enough trust to bring the patient to the care in the first place.
Yes, you're 100% right.
Clearly, we can't give every caregiver cancer to see how it really feels, but how can we effectively give the leaders or employees firsthand insight on what patients experience? Do you have any creative ideas, such as sleeping in a patient room with the door open or something like that?
We all have this different perspective, and it's all about listening to the stories that people can tell to really understand. Just because I had my experience, people could have a completely different experience through different service lines. And so I really think about building that infrastructure in facilities where you can bring those voices together, where you can talk about what needs to be fixed, what are those friction points, what are we doing well, but then also building in the time to be able to create solutions and actually drive those improvements.
Any real success story that you can share that has transformed providers' attitude and behaviors in delivering person-centered care with warmth, empathy, and compassion, whether it's something you've observed firsthand or things that you've heard secondhand through your work with so many different organizations?
It was very interesting because when I got my diagnosis, my oncologist was absolutely phenomenal. He was just a ray of sunshine. And when he came in and told me 1 week prior I had been a stage 2, and now he told me I was a stage 3, his tone completely changed. And in that moment, I have a whole story about in that moment, but when I came back, I had talked to him and I said, I didn't understand the perspective from a physician engagement way of thought. When you think about what our clinicians go through, they go into a patient and they give them life-altering news. And then they go into another room and then they have to turn their brain on in a different way and they have to document. And then they go into a different room and they have some casual conversation. And it's this episodes of just this roller coaster that our clinicians experience. And so how do we give our clinicians time to be human, to actually be able to go through those emotions and turn their brains on and off the way that they need to, but they can have rest, because that is definitely contributing to burnout. I have also seen that when I'm working with physicians, that different physicians are motivated by, you talk about quality, then you can motivate them that way. But then there's some that, have told me that your job is soft and I don't believe in patient experience and things like that. I noticed that there was a book behind you called Compassionomics, and that is one of my favorite books because it puts all the data behind caring. And so I have actually used that book with many leaders, not just physicians, to bring them back into purpose and what the data actually says.
I'm a huge fan of the TV series The Pit because it depicts so, dramatically and viscerally the emotions that they experience and so forth. And there are many who say, don't form a relationship or an attachment with the patient. You're going to need to protect yourself. But what we found in our work is that actually it's the reverse. They need that emotional fuel and roller coaster. They need to feel that connection as well as all the happy endings that go along with that in order to kind of keep themselves engaged and not burn out themselves.
I love that show, The Pit. And I remember one of the very first episodes is they had one of their administrators come down to the ER director, was like, hey, let's talk about your patient satisfaction scores. And I sat there and was like, oh my gosh, that's me. That's been me before.